Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. The other day I was thinking about an occasion years ago when I was still living in Thailand, and I mean it's a story I've told from time to time, many times probably, but it's one that's really stuck with me. And it was when I went to pay respects to Ajahn Buddhadasa at the I had been to visit and pay respects quite a few times, but it was the last time that I did go and visit and pay respects, and he was quite old at the time. He was over 80, and his health was starting to decline. And one of the things I asked him was because I had noticed over the years that he tended to teach on pick up a theme and explore it for an extended period of time, and take a particular theme, and he would teach on it, speak on it from different angles, different perspectives, and he was very skilled at it as a teacher, and so then I mentioned that and then asked him, now that it's you're reaching the toward the last part of your life, what theme are you teaching a lot? What are you teaching on this now? And he just laughed and said, "Oh, I'm not teaching very much at all these days. I just keep telling people, don't be selfish." And that that really struck me, and of course it's a teaching that is, once you start unpacking it and reflecting on it and trying to implement it, you realize that starts to cover everything. Whether it's whatever aspect of the Buddhist teachings or aspect of life that you start to apply it to, don't be selfish, and to be able to to make it explicit in the mind, so that one keeps reminding oneself how to live like that. Because if we really want to be free from suffering, and to really awaken to truth, then we can't be selfish. We can't be bringing kind of selfish concerns, selfish perspectives, and it just is. They go in opposite directions. The Dhamma goes one way, and selfishness really goes the other way completely. So that being able to reflect on that, and and then thinking on it, Ajahn Chah's training and the way that he has set up his monasteries and his training, that really plays a big feature. That sense of going against that stream of any kind of selfishness, because there's always the encouragement to, just on a practical level, on the social level of how we interact as and live together as human beings. That sense of helping out with everything, being and being present at everything that the community is doing, and it's there's that sense of a way of stepping back from selfishness, and not so much. That selfishness plays itself out in so many different ways. Because it's also, there's that. There's your normal assumption of selfishness, which is around kind of greed and self-concern. But it's also, that kind of self-orientation, self-protection, self-cherishing, that just by living together, sharing community, sharing everything in common, that really helps to go against that very ordinary human tendency, and and of course, think of even just on a social level of the being in the midst of a pandemic, or just the kind of conflicts that have been going on for these past years and past decades in America. It's just so much selfishness, and that is and everybody, you think we work on the kind of deep-seated sense of I want to be happy. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to experience difficulty. I want to experience security, safety, peace. and we keep doing the things that just make us miserable. So the the Buddha's teachings are so skillful at really giving us tools to live in a way that help us to go against that and create the foundations for for safety, security, peace, well-being. But it does take a relinquishing of selfishness and so that sense of generosity and giving, sharing, and it isn't just material things. Certainly in terms of material things, sort of giving and sharing what we have. But it's also giving and sharing of time, giving and sharing of attention, just being willing to pay attention to how other people are doing. How are they managing? How are they, as opposed to the obsession with me and those other people out there are just kind of annoying, kind of smudges on my well-being. It's just to say but it doesn't lead to much beautiful states of mind. So that sense of certainly in Ajahn Chah's training was very much one of when things need to be done, everybody helps out. When there's things happening, and you pitch in, and it's just as there isn't really a time for sort of me. What about me? So that opportunity to relinquish that kind of selfishness and self-orientation, and this gives a great sense of ease and well-being and freedom. It's like a good example is when Ajahn Sumedho first went to stay went to ask to stay with Ajahn Chah and wanted to study and train with Ajahn Chah and Lupa Cha, he thought about it for a bit, and he said, you can stay here and practice here and train here, but you've got to fit into here. I can't give you special privileges or special consideration for, you come from a different culture and different food. You have to adapt to here. And of course, Ajahn Sumedho took that on, and the results are pretty good. And of course, that all the rest of us who went to train with Ajahn Chah, then he was, and it wasn't say that he wasn't able to try to make our life easier. He could have, but he said, that isn't going to help you in the end. You're going to learn how to be wise by adapting to what's here and stepping away from your personal story and your personal preferences and your personal views and opinions, and that will make you wise and free. So that he was quite happy to uh, let us flounder sometimes, and to um, to be um, um, to do without things sometimes. It was, but it was that was a way to to help us, to not be selfish. We could be. You realize there's a tremendous freedom when you can just adapt to the circumstances that you're in. You can give yourself to the circumstances you're in. You can give yourself to the people you're with, and it's that giving and giving up of selfishness that lays a foundation. And simple things in the practice that we say that are very much a part of kind of signature characteristics of Ajahn Chah's monastery. So there's a lot of bowing. You come into the hall and you bow. You get up to leave the hall and you bow, and and you bow in a mindful, composed manner. It's not a perfunctory thing that you do, or you don't just, it's a way to break up the, and you go back to your dwelling place and you bow. You're going to leave and you come back to the central area. You bow. I mean, it's a you come into spaces that are shared communal places of practice and living, and the first thing to do is to bow. I mean, it wears away the kind of self that is. I just want it comfortable. I want it easy. I don't want to have to think about be present very much. I just want to go on automatic pilot. You can't do that, and it's a simple thing that really helps one to counter that tendency. Again, the sense of self-obsession, self-cherishing. Um, uh, I want to do it my way for me, to be comfortable and to be easy for me, which certainly doesn't lead to liberation and awakening. And so that, and that was something that Lumpur Cha learned from Ajahn Ginnerly, Lumpur Ginnerly. That was a kind of being able to integrate these just like bowing and that recollection of the triple jam, and to and that was where one time Ajahn Chah said to Ajahn Jayasaro, like, if you really knew how to bow, you'd be in tears every time you every time you bowed. And be this sense of gratitude, appreciation, that opportunity to step out of me and my obsession and my worries and my fears and my competition with others and my comparing others. Because that's another sense of don't be selfish is also, that kind of all the kind of comparing that we have with others and the competitions that we have and the kind of the images and views and opinions that we carry about others. It just really clutters up the mind. And it all is rooted in selfishness. So that sense of a community and living together with other human beings, if we let go of that kind of selfishness, self-obsession, harmony is just a natural result. It's just you realize that so much of the conflict and difficulties of living with each other as human beings is when there's selfishness there, and that relinquishing and letting it go and being willing to go against that grain, that sense of harmony comes, and people, you can live together with a lot of people, and people can still be diverse and different, but it's just learning how to live together, learning how to to be unselfish, and then it was of a millipede. And in Thailand, I mean, the millipedes are like yay big. I mean, they're big, and it really is millipede. There are 1,000 legs, and he said, well, you'd think with that many legs, they'd just sort of trip over each other, and it'd really be difficult just to. He says, but they all those legs all work together, and they go along pretty smoothly. And he said it's the same way as say as a community or as a society, as a culture. If we it's possible to live together harmoniously. It's just that stepping back from that kind of tendency to selfishness. It's a so on a social level and on these interactions, it's that sense of harmony is facilitated. But it's also in terms of, say, like sila, of virtue, that sense of commitment to virtue. That's where, like the Buddha calls, just on the basis of the 5 precepts. So it's just like those are like the great gifts that one gives. So it's sort of like that sense of giving a gift of security, compassion, safety by being willing to refrain from harming, refraining from taking what's not given, refraining from sexual overtures and complications and speech that's unskillful. Those are it's we give up the kind of selfishness and are able to give this a tremendous gift to the world, of safety and security, of compassion, care, and that's it really brightens the minds. One of the reasons why, say, like when the Buddha speaks of precepts of and virtue and say sila. One, of course, is the harmlessness of it, but it's also, it's not stained, it's not spotted, it's not complicated. And it is also conducive to composure, conducive to settling, because when we do step back from that, kind of selfish competitions or views and opinions or desires, and that it leads to that sense of settling and composure externally, but also internally. And so that view that seeing the danger in self, willingness to relinquish and let go, and have that commitment to conduct that is harmless. It brightens the mind. And of course, when there is harmony amongst us, then when we go to meditate, we're not carrying around the story of the latest conflict or the latest kind of difficult interaction that one's had, which is especially when there's that kind of selfishness. There's always somebody else's problem or somebody else's fault. It's never me. So but that willingness to just not be selfish. And, when we sit down to meditate, the mind is ready to be present, ready to be mindful, ready to settle. And there's an ease there. And then even when the mind starts to proliferate, it's ready to, and you think, well, say the 5 hindrances: sense desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, skeptical doubt. Those all revolve around that selfish kind of obsessions and selfish kind of spacing out or distracting oneself in some way. So then it's just not being selfish. That settling of the hindrances, and it's not as if one has to settling in the sense of going around stamping them out and annihilating them. That's another kind of selfish crusade that one goes on. So one can try to get my samadhi and my concentration. It goes against the grain of the Dhamma. So it's just don't be selfish, and the mind settles, the heart becomes still, serene, composed, and there's even that, and certainly on the aspects of wisdom and insight. There's aspects of you realize that kind of selfishness and self and other, putting oneself, how to, that sense of there's me and the world that one has to either be struggle against or be fearful of or try to gain some advantage over, and that whole sort of self and other program is generated out of that, just that fundamental self-obsession. Even the aspects of you think in terms of even like time. What is time? That sense of there's the future, that it's all about me being something in the future. And the past it's all about me in the past of some self-program going about me, and whether it's the memories of regret or memories of fantasy of the good old days, and it's that fantasies about me, the movement to the future, and that sense of self is just generating the whole complicating project, and being able to see that the kind of this is right and that's wrong, this is good and that's bad. It's those judgments that go on, and what's the root of it? It's the freedom that comes from just don't be selfish. It seems so simple, but it really pervades everything, and that the opportunity to just see things in their true nature. Okay, this is dukkha, and this is the cause of dukkha, cessation of dukkha, path leading to cessation of dukkha. That's not a self-program. That is a phenomena that is experienced, but it doesn't have to have a self. Or this is the causal process, cause and condition. The idda pachayata with this. When this is, that is. When this isn't, that isn't. I mean, that whole that conditionality. It's a conditioned process. It doesn't need the whole me program going into it. It's a causal process, and there's tremendous ease and peace comes. Same with, this is. It's recognizing the impermanent, unsatisfactory, non-self nature of all phenomena, internal, external, coarse or refined, near or far. It's just like this. It's just that's all it is, and being able to take refuge in that, take respite in seeing things that. So just trying to pick up something that's fairly simple and straightforward, and then start experimenting and reflecting on how does that work, and so that Ajahn Buddha Dasa's sort of picking up that hand. I mean, he was really a great teacher, and he his collected teachings that he gave and publications. I mean, it filled a huge library. I mean, it was amazing, and it was all selfless giving. But it's, if you bring it down, it's just it can be. You have a handle on it, but that one can start to apply to everything. So don't be selfish. So I'll offer that for reflection this evening.
We can close with the reflection on universal well-being, Book 1, page 40.